In the English Channel this morning, the French Coast Guard keeps its distance from a dinghy dangerously packed with dozens of migrants. A few miles away in English waters, UK Border Force ships await, ready to collect those on board and bring them to Britain. There is a familiar routine to these crossings, one the government is struggling to disrupt. The Prime Minister believes more cooperation with France is one solution. And today, with the French President, he announced a new plan.
For the very first time, migrants arriving via small boat will be detained and returned to France in short order. In exchange for every return, a different individual will be allowed to come here.
And I'm totally committed to make it work, because this is clearly our willingness and our common interests. And this pilot project, I wanted to insist on one point. This is a deterrence effect.
The plan to stop small boats will see French police use new powers to try and stop dinghies leaving coastal waters. British employers and landlords will be asked to carry out more ID checks, and some illegal migrants will be deported back to France in exchange for asylum seekers with a UK family connection. But initially, only around 50 migrants per week will be deported. So will it work?
The purpose of that is a pilot to break the model, and therefore, obviously, the numbers, if successful, will ramp up.
Nigel Farage invited GB News to join him in the Channel this morning. Some in Labour believe a failure to reduce crossings could see him win the next election.
We are Brexit Britain. We've behaved today like a member of the European Union on technology, on defence and on this so-called migrant deal. I mean, Macron must be going back to Paris laughing, saying basically the Brits have rejoined the European Union.
Refugee charities hope a diplomatic approach can help save lives.
We're going to have to see how the scheme works once it's tried. But we do remain concerned that if the police adopt much more aggressive tactics, there's a risk that people's lives could be threatened.
Relations with France have rarely been this warm, but both leaders desperately need this deal to deliver a reduction in illegal migration. Harry Horton, ITV News.
That came as more people made the crossing across the Channel. For the Prime Minister, an effective deterrent can't come soon enough. But as our correspondent Peter Smith reports from Dunkirk, it's not likely to stop the boats.
Despite all the talk about France intercepting boats this close to shore, this was the awkward scene for the French President and UK Prime Minister hours before their meeting today. About 40 people trundling unhurried, unimpeded towards the UK. This spot is known for migrant crossings. Even the media photographers knew exactly where to be to capture the moment on their cameras. But the French police were not here to capture the boat. And at the migrant camps like this, scattered across northern France, people are patiently waiting for their opportunity to cross. Most of the new arrivals here tell me they are from Somalia. Some had heard about the new plans to stop them, but having fled war and starvation, they are clear it will not work.
So you'll just keep trying?
Yeah. Never give up.
Never give up?
Yeah.
Why is it worth the risk to get to the UK? Why is it worth this?
I don't know. Also, Somalis is there. They say UK is good.
People in Somalia told you the UK was good?
Yeah.
People are desperate to leave this camp where it is increasingly violent. 2 migrants have been shot dead here recently. More gunshots were heard yesterday. Among dozens of families here trying to protect their children, we see this mother cradling her 4-month-old baby.
I've tried to cross 4 times already with my baby, but police punctured our boat. We will keep trying because we have to keep trying.
The most popular launching points for the small boats have traditionally been on this coastline from Dunkirk to Calais. To evade police, though, there's been an increase in boats now leaving from south of Boulogne-sur-Mer all the way to Dieppe in Normandy, making the journey more dangerous and 3 times longer.
There is no evidence after the announcement today that people are turning back. Instead, we're seeing people turning up, carrying life jackets, already preparing for their next attempt
to cross. And France in part blames the UK for creating this crisis by being too attractive to migrants, drawing thousands here, creating these camps and exhausting French police resources. We've seen the challenges of trying to patrol 130 miles of coastline here, when the tactics are always evolving. The smugglers call this the game, constantly moving to be one step ahead. Here we see the same migrants we met in the Dunkirk camp now boarding a bus, heading to those new launch points, visibly carrying life jackets for the crossing they will try to make. Police here don't stop them. They're only checking the bus fare is being paid. On this side of the channel, the game goes on. Peter Smith, ITV News, Dunkirk.
Right, let's speak to our political editor, Robert Peston, who's in northwest London for us. And Robert, the Prime Minister says this is a historic deal, but what difference will it make?
So, look, I just asked this very question to Keir Starmer and indeed to France's President Macron here at NATO's headquarters at Northwood. And the reason some people may be sceptical is because, as you heard from Harry Horton just now, the numbers that may be sent back to France in the pilot scheme will be no more than 50 a week. And currently there are something like 800 asylum seekers crossing the channel every week. So certainly in the case of the pilot scheme, it's a drop in the ocean. The Prime Minister's argument is that if the pilot succeeds and then they expand it, it would break the business model of the gangs, because anybody who came here without permission, illegally in his sense, would risk being sent back very rapidly to France, and I'll come on to this point, probably to some other place in the European Union. And the only people, and he stressed this point, who would be allowed to come to the UK would be those who had a legitimate asylum-seeking case, probably because they may have family members already here. But he also said that if they try, in his words, to unlawfully cross the channel at any point, they will never get that settled status. So he does think this is an important breakthrough, but I should caution you that actually it hasn't yet been agreed by the European Union, and it requires European Union agreement. That's it. That's even the pilot hasn't yet been agreed. And secondly, of course, asylum seekers who are going to be expelled, their lawyers will test it in the British courts. So it looks like a breakthrough in principle. Whether it actually happens in practice anytime soon is still very uncertain.